I had a child on the way. I was in graduate school and we were buying a company. My dad and my brother and I went out to lunch. He handed over his key. We were at the attorney's office. We signed papers. We went to lunch. He had 3 martinis. My brother and I went back to the office and said, now what do we do?
30 years later, Jim Neal is still in the food service industry and still building. That brokerage became the largest independent agency in the Pacific Northwest before he sold his stake and moved into restaurant equipment, where he's grown a second business to over $22 million in revenue this year. He's been an EO member for roughly 17 years, and the thing he'd tell any entrepreneur still in that early stage, still asking what to do next, still convinced they're the only one who doesn't have the answer, is that you're not the only one, and you don't have to do it alone. I'm Aaron Burnett, and this is Jim's story on Moments That Matter from EO Seattle. Tell me a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, so I would best describe as an accidental entrepreneur. Graduated college in 1992 with the intents of working in international sales and account management. The economy was absolutely awful at that point in time. And my dad was an entrepreneur. I think he recognized that he was 7 years out, did not have an exit strategy. And so over lunch, I became his exit strategy. And so,
and was that a surprise during that lunch?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was the last thing, honestly, on the face of the planet I thought I would end up doing.
Yeah.
Was being an entrepreneur. I figured I'd end up being a big corporate guy. And kind of that's what I had gone to school for and kind of was prepared for.
Yeah.
So I was an accidental entrepreneur, best accident that ever happened for me. And it's been something that I can't imagine a change to that.
Tell me about the business.
So my dad had a food brokerage company, so manufacturer's rep agency. When I joined, it was my dad, myself, and 2 other people in the company. Shortly after, he had a partnership down in Oregon. He ended up in a lawsuit. He ended up losing that part of the business. Plus, there was a massive consolidation that went on, and revenue fell by about 65%. So that was my first year of being an entrepreneur, was to watch 65% of a company's revenue disappear.
That's trial by fire.
It was. And so the number of people in the company was cut drastically.
Yeah.
Figured out what grit is.
Yeah.
Are you going to handle it when you got a choice? You either get up or you get out.
How many people were there when you started, and how many people were there at the end of the year?
So there were 6 or 7 of us to start, and there's 3 of us when all the dust had settled.
That's a rebuild from the foundations.
Yeah.
And what's the company look like today?
I sold that company 8 years ago, I guess. Today, that same company that we built covers Washington, Oregon, Alaska, Idaho, Utah, and it was just sold to a private equity company.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
How recently did that happen?
About 18 months ago.
Okay. But you're still there?
No.
Ah.
So I sold out of that. My brother came in as a partner in that business.
Yeah.
After 27 years of doing the same thing, I just decided if I was going to make a change, I needed to do it then. Went and dabbled my foot in the same industry, but a different segment of it.
Sold the first company, but started a company in the same industry.
Got involved with another EO member.
Yeah.
And joined that company.
Yeah.
Came as a partner with those guys. Within 18 months of doing that, ended up taking over those companies as the presidents of the company in the Pacific Northwest. So instead of selling food, we're selling specialty restaurant equipment.
And how big did that company grow to be?
I took that over in 2019, and we were doing about 13 million a year in revenue. This year, we'll do just over 22.
That's fantastic. What was the experience like selling to private equity?
I wasn't involved in that transaction. I got to watch it from the sidelines.
Okay.
My brother was the one who was managing and owned the company at that point in time. It's a long, stressful grind that you need a lot of good counselors and people with experience to go through. That's not water you want to navigate on your own for the first time.
Yeah. Yeah. Not for the faint of heart.
No.
That's what I hear from everyone who's done that. And so what are you up to now?
Running DSL Northwest, and just took over another business down in Arizona doing the same thing. So we distribute and serve especially restaurant equipment.
You've been in EO for 17 years?
Didn't think it had been that long, maybe 15, 16.
Okay.
So about 2010,
okay.
I joined.
And what brought you to EO?
Another EO member, a gentleman by the name of Mike Ross, a very good friend of mine. It's when I went to work with DSL when I made that transition. He made me the guarantee that no entrepreneur should turn down. He said, Jim, this organization is going to change the way you do business and like put you on a trajectory. And I said, Mike, we barely qualify and I don't think I can afford it. He said, look, if you don't get value out of it, quit after the first year. I will write you a check for the full amount personally. Pretty tough to say no to
Pretty
that.
big guarantee.
And I think it was 2010 or 2009 and something I look forward to re-signing up on every single year since. So
How has it changed you, and how did it change your business life?
the entrepreneurial struggle that we all have, there's one thing that we all have in common, but you don't recognize how many people you have that in common with until you find that network.
Yeah.
You find that tribe of people who face a lot of the same challenges and struggles and try and find answers in places that they don't. So what it really did, I think for me, was reframe what we were capable of as a company, what I was capable of as a leader and as an individual, and challenged me to be probably more bold and decisive than I would have been without the organization.
You made the comment that you feel like most entrepreneurs have the same problem. They look for solutions elsewhere, and coming to EO helps them to address that same problem. How would you define the common problem that entrepreneurs have?
Especially for young entrepreneurs, it is, I have to figure this out on my own.
Yeah.
I think is the number one thing that they fight. I know that I fought it, right? I
Sure.
have to figure this out.
Right.
There's a lot of wasted time and energy associated with figuring it out on your own. It's not as much what the business does specifically. I provide a service, I build a widget. It's how do we scale? How do we hire the right people? How do we motivate? How do we manage all of the 1,000 things that are coming at us and still try and do that with some type of balance? Especially if you're a young entrepreneur grinding every single day and you got a wife and kids at home or partner at home, and you're trying to figure out how do I make all this stuff balance out? We've all had a lot of days where you just need somebody to talk to. And a lot of times as that young entrepreneur trying to break through to whatever that level is, it can be a really lonely place.
Yeah.
This organization provided not only a forum, but a group of individuals that were a voice that I could go to.
What I suspect the common problem that entrepreneurs have, particularly entrepreneurs who come to EO, it's some degree of imposter syndrome, a worry that I don't feel like I know what I'm doing. I think everyone else is an expert and I am not. I think particularly if you're a young entrepreneur.
Yeah.
It was strangely reassuring to find out that most other people felt the same thing.
You're always fighting, right? You got to fight the market. You got to fight your competition, and you got to fight yourself,
Right.
Self-doubt and all those things.
Yeah.
God bless those entrepreneurs who are just so headstrong and whatnot that they feel like they're bulletproof and invincible.
Yeah.
I don't know who they are.
I know someone like that who wakes up and thinks, I'm pretty awesome today.
Yeah.
Nearly every day. I envy that.
Right.
That's not quite how I'm wired. You talked about some of the issues that you were able to discuss and address through EO. How did you mature? How did you change as an entrepreneur through your experience with EO?
The more vulnerable you allow yourself to be in your forum, in the organization, the more you're going to learn.
Mm.
If you wring out the sponge and allow it to absorb something, now it's got some power. And that's really, in my opinion, that's what the vulnerability part is. Because now if I could say, hey, these are what my problems are, these are the challenges that I'm having, now I'm able to absorb more of that. And others are willing to give me more in those conversations.
Mm-hmm.
The organization gave me an opportunity to serve in some different leadership roles very early on that one increased my connectivity to the organization, but two pushed me as a leader to find what it meant and how to be a public servant, not in the private public sense, but
Sure.
right, to learn how to lead when you do not have authority over somebody requires a different skill set
Right.
than walking in and telling your employees what they need to get done.
Yeah.
Right. Servant leadership is a great training ground. It was for me to take a look at, okay, how do I take a look at that? And what are those leadership skills that I developed inside this organization? How do those translate to how I can better be a more effective leader and listener to even my own teams and to my customers?
You had the first business that you took over from your dad. Did you join EO while you still had that business?
Yeah.
Okay.
I started working with my dad in 1992, 93, and I was with that company until 2015, so 22
Okay.
plus years.
Yeah. When you began your work with DSL Northwest, Were there things that you took from your experience or you learned through EO that caused you to frame the business differently, approach it differently, make adjustments versus what you'd done with the prior business?
Yes, because I came in without any predisposition about a sales and service company should be run,
Yep.
selling a hard good and servicing a hard good, like the equipment that we sell. I wasn't burdened by the way that things had always been done. So it was a different set of eyes. So I challenged a lot of assumptions as part of my learning process with that. And then was able to take what made logical sense to me and then marry that to the opportunities in the marketplace and say, all right, where do these cross over? What are the things that we've done that should be changed or should we look at changing? And then how do we look at how we go to market and how do we service those customers and create greater value and relationships with the customers that we have?
Yeah. It's been a long time since you joined EO. Do you have a sense for what your inner monologue was then and how it might be different today?
When I joined EO, one of the questions I got asked in my interview is, why should you be a member? And quite honestly, I looked around at the board members sitting around there who were interviewing me. And I said, I don't know what value I bring to you. I really feel like this is going to be a one-way relationship.
Sure, right.
As I join this organization.
Yeah.
Right. I don't have brick and mortar. I don't have a huge business. I've got this really segmented business. 99.9% of people don't even understand because I say I've got a brokerage company and they're like, do you trade food? Like, no. I didn't know at that point in time what I could give the organization. All I knew was that like I was looking around the table about a bunch of people that I thought I want to be like that individual and that individual and that individual. So it was, I mean, in all honesty, there was a lot of selfishness that was associated with it. But I also knew at that same time that wherever I ended up, I was going to commit 100% to providing as much value as I could because I knew I was going to draw a ton of value.
Yeah. How do you think about EO differently now? What's your inner monologue about yourself or about EO today?
EO has grown and transformed from the organization it was 15 years ago.
Right.
I think that there were 55 people in the chapter at that point in time. So it was much more intimate, right? I mean, you almost knew everybody.
Yeah.
Now I'm the old guy when I was the young guy.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of us that all kind of came in around the same time together.
Yeah.
That have been around in the organization for a long time. So it feels weird, but now I feel like I'm quote unquote old guard. I look at it today and I want to make sure that we are, as the people who've been in longer, finding ways that we can help that younger entrepreneur who's trying to figure out about not only about their own business, but about this organization. How do I maximize my value out of it? Where is it that I can not only take from the organization, but I can give back to the organization? Because if it's one way, it'll never last.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a long list of people who have joined. And if you are a consumer of the organization and make no donations back, it's pretty short-lived. My experience is that those people don't last very long.
Yeah, I think that's very well put.
If you're going to be a consumer, you also need to be donating. And that doesn't mean in any particular manner. It just means you need to be and willing to give back to the organization and your forum and commit.
I think that's absolutely true. Before we continue, I want to tell you about the community that made this podcast possible. The Seattle chapter of EO, that's Entrepreneurs Organization. It's not networking, it's not selling to each other, it's real entrepreneurs sharing real challenges and solutions. If you have a business that does at least $1 million a year in revenue, and you're curious about joining a community that gets what you're going through, check out EO Seattle. Do you mind if I ask you again about your professional history? I looked at your LinkedIn background and I saw the first company and I saw the second company, but it sounded like you described that the second company was sold to private equity 18 months ago.
No, so the first company, so when we started, I took over for my dad and started that. And my brother came in 3 years after I had gotten involved. So we've kind of gotten the foundation back under. And my brother joined the company. And 3 years later, on December 31st, I was of 1998. So I guess it was 6 years. I had a child on the way.
Yeah.
I was in graduate school and we were buying a company. And I just remember, and it was literally my dad and my brother and I went out to lunch. He handed over his key. We were at the attorney's office. We signed papers. We went to lunch. He had 3 martinis. My brother and I went back to the office and said, now what do we do? Right?
He was retiring right now.
Yes. Right. And so with that company, again, we were tiny.
Yeah.
Like we were doing $300,000 a year in total revenue.
Mm.
So, I mean, we were holding on to paychecks, making sure everybody else got paid. But one of the things that my brother and I decided was that we could grow this into a very different brokerage company than a lot of our competitors.
Mm-hmm.
So we worked our ass off to get that accomplished. We moved and expanded back down into Oregon, got out of that lawsuit, re-entered ourselves into that marketplace. My brother he and I, funny story, don't need to go into all the details. One of us had to move. He didn't own a house. He didn't have children. He wasn't married. One of us had to move. He's like, I guess this decision's been made.
Sure, right.
So he moved down to Oregon and we started working and building that market.
Okay.
And so together for the better part of 22 years, 23 years, we just had one focus, and that was to be the best agency that we could be. And we were going to differentiate ourselves by not allowing ourselves to be rolled up, because there was a massive amount of consolidation going on in the brokerage industry.
Right.
So our goal was to be the single largest independent in the Pacific Northwest, and we accomplished that. Mm-hmm. And then when I sold the company to my brother, he then in turn moved into a couple of different markets and actually is one of the largest independent agencies in the country. And so then he was able to do that.
I see. Okay.
So he did a fantastic job after I left.
Yeah, that's great. Well, it sounds like you did a fantastic job together. Gave him some good momentum.
Yeah, I mean, we went from 300,000 to a lot more than that in that time period, and really built a good foundation and really established who we were as a company and what our principles and ethics and deliverables were.
What's your vision for your current company?
So, for example, if you walk into a Chick-fil-A,
mm-hmm.
the fryers that they have, the ice cream machine that they have, all that equipment, we sell to a company like that. Or if you walk into Costco and go to the food court, the ice cream machine that you see and the slush machine that you see to get your smoothie or to get your frozen latte is equipment that we sell.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so we work with companies like Costco or Dutch Brothers or McDonald's or Burger King or any of the big national brands. And so really for us, the number one thing that we're working on right now is to become the most important service provider in the back of that kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
Average restaurant has somewhere between 12 and 25 key pieces of equipment. And we want to be able to be the resource that they can go to on any of that type of equipment. And that's been a big strategic shift for us as a company,
right? Which
is adding the additional skill sets that we need out of the core brands that we service, and then creating that value in that partnerships.
For the brands that you do represent, are you in a competitive context? When you're selling an ice cream machine to Costco, are you having to compete with others who are in the same territory offering the same
Yes, so
machine?
We're an exclusive distributor.
Okay.
For Henny Penny and for Taylor.
Right.
And so those are the two primary brands that we sell and distribute. And we're exclusive for that. So inside of our own territory, we don't have anybody else trying to sell that equipment,
mm-hmm.
but we have plenty of other pieces of equipment that can do what our equipment does.
I see.
So for us, on the sales side, and when we're working with a customer is, how do we make you more efficient, right? Mm-hmm. The Northwest right now is one of the toughest places in the entire country to be in any type of food service industry.
Mm-hmm.
We pay more per hour. The restrictions that we have are onerous, scheduling laws. I mean, all these kinds of things, all of which drives up every time you go out to eat.
Right.
Gets more and more expensive.
Yeah.
Fast food, fine dining, family dining, a pizza, you fill in the blank, whatever it is.
Right.
So what we're looking for and the value that we provide is trying to figure out operationally, is there equipment that we have that can either A, generate you more money,
mm-hmm.
or B, allow you to operate more efficiently so that you can create either greater output or reduce the amount of labor associated with creating the output that you're doing currently. Those are the riddles that we're trying to answer. Do I understand your business? Do I understand what your challenges are? Can I find a solution that allows you to operate more effectively, more efficiently, more profitably, and more consistently?
Mm-hmm.
Because if I can find a solution to one of those 3 or 4 things, odds are that it's going to make sense. And then, of course, you're talking about restaurant equipment. I don't care what it is, but that stuff's going to break.
Yeah.
It's very high utilization. And so we then back that up with a service network of technicians who can come in and repair that when it goes down.
Right.
Because when that goes down, now it's a crisis because we're dealing with what I would consider mission critical restaurant equipment. A grill, a fryer, a milkshake. These things generate large amounts of profit and they go through high volume. So when something goes down, those customers are calling and they're freaking out.
They support interesting items too. So generate a lot of profit, but also I would assume generate disproportionate customer dissatisfaction if they're not available because they're treats.
In a lot of cases, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you work with clients in a way that means that you can track the impact that optimizing for efficiency has? And is that then part of your calling card?
Yeah, we can work with let's say a fast casual dining, right? Mm-hmm. We can go through and show how a certain piece of equipment can improve throughput, reduce time, all these things that matter. And we have a set of metrics that we can do that. And we actually do some time study analysis to prove why the investment is worth it and what the ROI is on that piece of equipment. I mean, it's more than just slinging milkshakes and ice cream cones and hamburgers. It's about understanding how to create that value for the customer in order to help them and their businesses grow. We don't just look at that restaurant as our customer, but every patron that comes in there is a customer of ours because we're helping them deliver that. I mean, if we take a look at the customers we have contact with roughly 400 million different consumers in the course of a year. So the equipment that we sell and service, we make a lot of contact with everybody out there every day. Everybody listening to this at some point in time this week will have consumed something that probably came through a piece of equipment that we somehow are involved with.
Sure. You have quite a track record. Do you have a sense of the improvement that a new customer would typically see when they begin working with you? Lots of people can sell equipment, but you work with them and help to optimize for efficiency. So when, let's say, a fast casual restaurateur begins to work with you, do you feel confident that on average, we improve efficiency by X or profitability by Y?
That's a great question. It's going to vary by what segment that we're going after, right?
Sure.
So is it treats and desserts? Is it something coming off of a grill? Is it something coming out of a combi oven? Like there's a bunch of different things. So it's different. So I can't provide you with one answer that says this is going to provide you a 10% better return and this is going to save you 20%.
Yeah.
I can get into segments and tell you that our experience shows us that by using this, I can decrease your expenses by X. It really is customer specific.
Sure.
Not just about the solution.
Yeah.
But the outcome.
Yeah.
Because there's so many variables that impact it.
Yeah.
And how much volume are they doing?
Sure. That makes sense. It's customer specific, but it's also knowable.
It's knowable.
Yeah. When you're talking with a prospective client, or if you have the opportunity to speak with a prospective client, what do you want them to know about you and your company?
The most important thing to me is not knowing about me and my company, but knowing what your challenges are. What is it that you as a business operator are experiencing? And does my team have the skills, the connections, the ability to help you solve a problem that keeps you up at night?
Sure.
As that relationship develops, well, then they're going to get to know more about me and my company and what it is that we provide. A lot of those are platitudes and things that are written on a wall and whatnot, right? Oh, we have great company culture. I believe we have all those things. That doesn't matter to you. And if I come in here and tell you that we are the greatest place to work, look, we got this company says top 500 places to work in the country, whatever. None of that matters. What really matters is what is your challenge? If you could just hand me 3 problems on a plate, said, Jim, if you can find a solution to one of these 3 problems, we could do business together. Now all of a sudden you're going to know me and my company as somebody who solved a problem that you had that was keeping you up at night.
Yeah.
And then it became tangible. And your opinion about what my company is will be framed by the way that you and I interact, the relationship that we develop, the service that we provide, the solution that we do, and the partnership that we have moving forward to allow you to grow from 1 to 3 to 5 to 25 to 35 stores. Because if we can't provide you value, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If you run a convenience store, you run a food service operation, you run a restaurant, you run a country club, you run any of those type of things where you're running a food service operation, odds are there's some way that we probably could find a solution to something that's keeping you up at night. If you're not in that segment, you're not going to know and really probably aren't going to care what the heck DSL Northwest does.
Right. In my business, longevity of our relationship. So client retention is a real measure of the quality and the value that we deliver for clients. I would assume that the same is true for you, that once you're working with a client, retaining them is very good for you, but it's also a measure of and a signal as to the value that you deliver. Do you have a sense for your customer retention?
The most difficult part of what we do is identifying and creating that solution resolution, getting it into test, and proving its efficacy. Once customers started working with us, we don't lose them. We've worked with Costco for 25 years. We've gone through some stuff, but our relationship is still strong, and what we're willing to do and the lengths it will go to solve problems for them.
Yeah.
And so when a competitor comes calling, which happens every day,
Right. I would imagine.
with a customer like that,
Yeah.
the hurdle that they have to overcome in order to get entry to that is super difficult, because I've got 25 years of making sure that they are taken care of at every turn. We're working with Dutch Brothers, right? And have for a number of years. Fastest growing coffee chain in the country. We work with them extremely close to figure out exactly what it is that they need and how can we be a better partner for them as they're growing out and, literally opening up 8 to 15, 20 new locations a month. That takes a lot of time, effort, and energy to figure out and sit down and figure out, how are we going to manage this? Oh, and by the way, now that you're, at 2,000 stores right now,
Yeah.
and you're on your way to 5,700 stores, there's a lot of moving pieces, and we are helping them understand challenges they're going to have before they know they're going to have them, because they haven't ever crossed through this threshold before.
Yeah.
I believe that when customers start working with us and they really understand that we're not worried about this transaction, we're worried about their business and their employees and their employees' families and their customers, and the things that we need to do in order to make sure that all of those people are being served. That customer obsession of just recognize it's not just the operator, but it's all the people that they serve. How do we continue to do that? And what are we thinking about to help them and their business make sure that challenges that they have are overcome? And so that can be anything from a new equipment solution to a preventative maintenance program to a scheduled maintenance program, all different things customized by location. Same concept, different franchisee, maybe a little bit different solution. Right? There's no cookie cutter thing that I walk in and I'm like, this is a solution for you. In our opinion, every solution is dependent on that individual location, that individual owner. So you can be a franchisee and have 12 locations. I'm going to look at each one of those 12 locations. Same idea. Execution in each is going to be a little bit different based on exactly what your challenges are there.
Right.
So being able to customize that. And when you do that, again, it just creates this much higher level of connectivity and understanding and rapport about the fact that they're not looking at every problem with the same solution and just moving, just trying to just gain market share by implore this, imply this, do this, do this, do this. It's like, hey, there are specific things that we're doing. We're not the cheapest at what we do either.
Right.
But we're providing specific solutions for you and that location.
You switch from being a vendor to being a strategic partner.
Exactly.
In the context of EO, have you been able to work with other industry groups, to work with other folks in other territories with whom you can share information and collaborate?
So we have a fairly robust food service group inside of EO Seattle, all doing different things.
Yeah.
And so I think more at an opportunity level as an organization is having the connectivity to other people doing things that are similar in different marketplaces.
Sure.
And being able to meet those people through regional events or global events or through my EO or, some of the different avenues that are there. One thing to say you're an entrepreneur, that creates some connectivity, to say you're a member of the entrepreneurs organization and to have that, and they are too. And all of a sudden there's almost that intimacy that we talk about where, all of a sudden we shake hands and find out, oh, I didn't know you were part of EO. And then, yeah, I am. Been in for 12. That's great. So I've been in for 15. And now all of a sudden there's a connection there and a trust that's developed because you know what the core values of the organization are.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. What should people know about EO? What should a prospective member know about EO?
First and foremost, it is not a networking organization. So if you're coming in because you think that this is another way I can go expand my group, wrong place to be. Do you want to create connectivity and create relationships with other entrepreneurs who go through similar struggles, who go through their imposter syndrome, who have highs, have lows, personally and professionally, and be willing to use that as a mechanism for self-growth and your company's growth, then this could be a place for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to show up and just check boxes and not be a contributor to your forum, to the chapter itself, to small groups and adopted forums, and be willing to be vulnerable and be honest, then this isn't the organization for us. Maybe it's more about, what is this organization not for me
Sure.
in some of this description?
Yeah.
Because I think if you take those things and you say, if that's what you think you're going to get, or that's what you want out of this, you need to go someplace else.
Mm-hmm.
Some of my closest friendships have been developed in this organization. I have a couple of forum mates that I've been in forum with for 13 years, 12 years, been in their weddings and stuff like that, right? They're, in some cases, almost brothers. That is because of a whole lot of time being involved in the organization and relationships that I have with people that weren't even in my forum but I've served on a board with, I've served on a committee with, I've met in an adopted forum, I've had a conversation at a retreat or an event, and it is deeply moving and impressive that you can get so deep so quickly with somebody, and it's because of an organization like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
The very foundational things that make the organization successful will be what make you successful inside this organization.
Yeah.
Trust and respect, willingness to go deep, willingness to be vulnerable. They all matter.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't get to pick and choose. You can't just say, hey, I'm just going to do this one.
Yeah.
You've got to really embrace and understand what the values of the organization are, and then be willing to live those.
I think that's exceptionally well said. Is there anything else you want to talk about that I haven't asked you about?
One of the things is, how can you be a contributor to the organization? And I think it's most important in the early stages of your tie to it. People that I know that are some of the longest tenured members in this organization have all, in some way, shape, or capacity, serve some type of leadership role inside the organization. If you develop relationships, you truly understand what the core values of the organization are. You meet people outside of your forum. You are involved in the strategic thoughts that go into it. So it's like it's like sitting on a different board outside of your own business. And a lot of the things that you get from that, you can steal and take to your own.
Sure.
Servant leadership is so much different than business or civic leadership. If I'm frustrated with the way somebody's performing inside my company, I can sit down with them one-on-one, or I can sit down with their manager and say, hey, these are corrective actions that we're going to take.
Right.
Nobody is beholden to you inside this organization that has to do what you're asking them to do. Right. And so you have to look at that. The one expression I used to hear all the time, it's like herding cats.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's an absolutely terrible analogy. That assumes that all the cats just want to run, right? So we have to create an environment, as that leader, you have to create an environment where everybody feels that they have a voice, that they have a common vision about what needs to get accomplished, and that there's a pathway moving forward, and we need you to be part of that.
Sure.
So early involvement in the board or on a committee or doing anything, even a day chair for a learning event, but any opportunity you have, serving as your forum moderator, those are all just steps and gateways to getting involved in the organization. But if you do that, the likelihood that you're going to stick around, you'll have a better understanding of how it works and why it works, and the impact that you can have on the organization long term, make a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I've appreciated this. It's been a great conversation. Thank you.
You bet.